Hello guys, welcome to another video. Today we are going to talk about subsequent expenditure for property, plant and equipment. Subsequent expenditure means these are those expenditure which you will incur subsequent to the acquisition. I mean to say after the acquisition, maybe these expenditure you will incur in the second year or in the third year. So the point is, should we capitalize those expenditure? When we say capitalize, it means should we record these expenditure as an asset in the balance sheet, or we need to record as a expense in the income statement. So those expenditure which we will record as an expense, those are called revenue expenditure. Okay, so here we have a criteria to define the capital expenditures or revenue expenditure. As we know, capital expenditure should be recorded as an asset in the balance sheet, and these are those expenditure which is gonna to provide us the additional benefit by improving the quality of the service rendered by asset, or these expenditure is gonna to extend the useful life of the asset, or these expenditure is gonna to increase the output of the asset. If this is the scenario, so these expenditure should be recorded as an asset. Okay, so here these expenditures are also non-recurring expenses. Okay, like it's not a routine expenses, maybe it's a one time or sometime expenditure. On the other hand, we have a revenue expenditure. Revenue expenditures are those expenditure which is gonna to maintain the assets normal service capacity. I would say this is not gonna to increase the useful life of the asset. It's also not gonna to increase the output of the asset. It's gonna to maintain the useful life or output of the asset. If these expenditures are recurring, so then these expenditures should be recorded as a expense in the income statement. Actually, it is very complicated point. So usually what companies do, they set the materiality threshold value for the expenditure. If they will incur any expenditure below the threshold, so what they will do, they will record as a revenue expenditure. If they will incur any cost, okay, non-recurring cost which they will incur after certain time period, okay, but the amount is above the threshold value, so they can record as a capital expenditure. So here we have a different types of expenditure relevant to the property, plant and equipment. The first thing which we are going to talk about, that is called additions. Actually, what is the additions? Additions are those expenditure which we will incur either to extend the non-current asset or maybe to expand the non-current assets. Okay, and these expenditure usually we can capitalize those expenditures. Okay, so addition, for example, here the example for addition is, maybe you are going to construct additional floor for a building. When it comes to the accounting depends upon the types of addition. For example, here we have a case number one. If addition is essentially a separate asset, for example, you have a old building, what you are going to do, you are going to install the AC, maybe central air conditioning system for the same building. Okay, and this AC you are gonna to record as a separate asset. If this is the scenario, so what we need to do, if you want to deal this asset as a separate asset, then it should be recorded as in the separate account, and it should be depreciated over its own life. Okay, not on the life of building. For example, here what entry you will pass: debit asset, new asset, and credit cash, and then we will depreciate this central air conditioning system or this conditioning system over the useful life of the asset. So here we have another example. If addition is not essentially a separate asset, for example, maybe you are going to construct additional floor for the building. Now this floor you can't record as a separate asset. In this scenario, whatever cost you have incurred to construct the additional floor, that this should be debited to the original asset account, I mean to say to the cost of building account. Okay, and it should be depreciated over the life of the building. So here what entry you will pass: we will debit the asset, I mean say old asset, which is building in my example, and credit the cash. This is how you will deal with the additions. Here we have here now replacement and improvements. Okay, so replacement, first we need to understand what is the replacement. Actually replacement is the substitution, or you are going to substitute a new component of an asset for a similar one. Like let me give you example. For example, you might have a old asset, you want to replace the old asset with the new asset, almost with the similar asset. So this is what is called replacement. For example, a tile roof for a tile roof, this is what is called replacement. But when we use the word improvements, actually improvements is the substitutes. Here we are, what we are going to do, it's a substitutes a better component, such as more efficient heating system. Maybe you have some heating system, and now you are going to replace or improve the old heating system with the better one. So this is called what is your improvement. So here we have a two case. Please remember, case number one is what, if the old component was recorded separately. Okay, for example, the heating system, previously it was the old heating system, you have recorded previously separately, like you have in the balance sheet. Okay, you have a cost of heating system, and you have a accumulated depreciation of the heating system. So this is what is called, it means heating system was recorded separately previously, and this is what you are going to replace or improve now. So in this scenario, what we can do, we can use the substitution method. What is the substitution method? Actually, as per the substitution method, the cost of old asset we need to remove, the accumulated depreciation of old asset we need to remove. Okay, and we need to record the new asset because old asset has replaced. In this scenario, what entry you will pass, you will debit the accumulated depreciation of old asset, because you want to remove the accumulated depreciation. Okay, and you will credit the old asset cost account, because you want to eliminate the cost of old asset. Okay, and you will debit the new asset with the cost whatever you have paid to acquire the new asset, and you will credit the cash. If still your entry is not balanced, so of course it will be a loss. Okay, so the difference will be taken to the loss, because you have de-recognized the old asset. Okay, so this is what is called the substitution method. So here we have another point, case 2 under the improvement or replacement. So we have it, actually this is the case number 2. If the component replaced or improved has not been separately accounted for. For example, maybe you have a tile floor, marble floor, you are gonna to replace with the wooden floor. So it means the cost of floor, actually it was the cost of building previously. You got my point? So this cost of floor you can't record separately. And what we are going to do, we are going to replace or improve, okay, the asset which was not recorded separately previously. So here what you will do here, of course here we cannot use the substitution method. The reason is that the cost of floor was not recorded separately previously, it was the part of the cost of building. So if this is the scenario, what is the scenario? If component replaced or improved has not been separately accounted for, or the old component has been modified. So if this is the scenario, it's just a modification to the old assets. Okay, so what you need to do here you need to check if replacement or improvement, okay, is gonna to extend the useful life of the asset, or if it is not gonna to extend the useful life of the asset. Please remember, if the replacement or improvement is just gonna to increase the asset service potential, but it is not gonna to extend the useful life of the asset. If this is the scenario, so of course whatever the cost you have incurred to replace or improve the old asset, so you will debit to the old asset and credit the cash. Of course it should be depreciated over the life of the old asset. But if the replacement or the improvement of the old asset is gonna to extend the useful life of the asset, it's not gonna to increase the service potential. Just let me give you example. For example, if you have any iconic building, maybe this building is going to expire after 5 years, but as a company, what you have decided to increase its useful life by incurring certain additional cost. But maybe you are going to add certain additional pillars with the foundation of the building, so which can increase the life of the building. So in this scenario, so what you will do, you will debit the accumulated depreciation of old asset and credit the cash, because here the life of the asset is gonna to extend. Okay, so what we assume here whatever the expenditure we have incurred to extend the useful life of the asset, so these expenditures, actually it is the recovery of the depreciation expense. I hope it is clear. So here we go now. Then we have here another point. We have a rearrangement cost. This is another topic under the capital expenditure. We have a reinstallation and we have a relocation. So just let me give you example. For example, maybe you have a plant and machinery in one city. Maybe you are going to allocate to the, or you are going to move to the second city. I'm just assuming. So whatever usually relocation cost, I mean say the moving cost, maybe the transportation cost, usually we record as expense. Okay, because we assume these expenditures maybe are not material. Okay, but when it comes to the reinstallation or rearrangement or maybe the reconfiguration, maybe this cost could be a material amount which might require a huge cash outflow. So please remember here you should remember, if you have incurred this reinstallation cost in the past and you have recorded this reinstallation cost, okay, you have recorded these installation cost as a asset maybe previously, so then in this scenario it means there's a carrying value is known. Okay, maybe you have incurred this reinstallation cost 5 years back. Okay, maybe the amount was $1 million. So if this is a scenario you have already recorded these reinstallation cost as a asset, okay, it means the carrying value is known. Now what we can do, we can use the substitution method. What we will do, so we will remove the cost of old reinstallation if you have incurred in the past, I'm assuming. Okay, and you might have accumulated a depreciation for those costs. So what we will do, we will remove those accumulated depreciation also. This is about old reinstallation cost. Okay, now maybe today you also have incurred certain reinstallation cost. So what you need to do, you will remove the old reinstallation cost, you will remove the old accumulated depreciation of the reinstallation cost, and today whatever you have incurred the reinstallation cost, you will record as a new asset. So that is why we can use the substitution method here. So this is what we can do if the carrying value is known. I mean to say the previously previous installation cost was recorded as a separate asset, it means carrying value is known. So in this scenario we will use substitution method. How, what you will do, you will debit the accumulated depreciation of old asset to remove the old reinstallation cost. We will credit the cost of old asset and to remove the cost of old asset, and then we will debit the new reinstallation cost whatever you have incurred, and you will credit the cash. If there is any a difference will be again a loss. Okay, this is what is called reinstallation cost. So but maybe this reinstallation cost you have incurred first time, previously it was not recorded, it means the carrying value of reinstallation cost is unknown, because you are going to incur first time these costs. In this scenario, of course these costs are material, so we should debit to the new account. I mean, so we will debit the asset, I mean, so with the name of reinstallation cost, and credit the cash, and then these reinstallation costs should be amortized over the period benefited. Okay, this is how you will do with the reinstallation cost. I will summarize at the end what we learned, don't you worry. So then you have here repair and maintenance expense. Usually repair and maintenance expenses are recurring and it is not gonna to extend the useful life or the output of the asset, it is going to maintain the useful life of the asset, or it is going to maintain the output of the asset. So here we have a quite simple rule. If repair and maintenance expenses are minor and recurring, then these are recorded as a revenue expenditure. But if repair and maintenance expenses are major, means it's above the threshold value, so then you can record as a capital expenditure, provided that these expenditure is gonna to benefit the future period. Okay, so here we have a now summary what we learned, just summarize quickly to understand. Here we have first we talked about with the addition. I told you additions means it's the, maybe you have constructed additional floor, or maybe you're going to add a new assets, maybe central air conditioning system to the old building. So here you can debit the separate asset also. Okay, if you want to record this asset as a separate, or if it is not separately identifiable than a previous asset, so you can debit to the old asset. Okay, like here separate asset, the example you should remember, maybe you have installed the central air conditioning system, okay, in the building, and you want to deal it as a separate asset because air conditioning system is having a separate life, so then you will debit the new asset. Okay, but if the addition, like here you should remember you have constructed the additional floor, okay, and floor you can't record as a separate other than building because it is a part of building, so you will debit the old asset. Then here you have a replacement and improvements. If carrying value is known, what I told you, so you should use the substitution method. Again, we have a replacement or improvement. If carrying value is not known, so what you will do, if it is going to increase the service potential only, but it's not going to extend the useful life, then we will debit the old asset. But if the improvement or replacement is going to extend the useful life only, so in this scenario you will debit the accumulated depreciation and credit the cash. Okay, then you have a rearrangement and reinstallation. If cost is known, I would say it, if it was recorded previously as an asset, then you can use the substitution method. Maybe if this rearrangements or reinstallation cost you are going to incur first time and the amount is material, so you can record a new asset, debit new asset and credit cash, and it should be amortized over the period benefited. Okay, then you have our repairs. If repairs are minor, we can record as expense. Of course, if it is a major, if it is gonna to give us the benefit in the future, so we can treat as a capital expenditure, same like the additions. I hope guys it is clear. See you in the next video. Thank you so much. Bye bye.